Jason is sitting in his Honda Accord outside a Walmart in suburban Ohio at 10:47 p.m. The engine is still running. Not because he's in a hurry, because turning the car off means the silence gets louder. There's a half-empty energy drink in the cup holder. A Costco-sized pack of paper towels in the back seat. His phone screen glows with a notification from a finance app telling him his investment account is now worth $14,382. A number that sounded impressive 6 years ago. Tonight it feels microscopic. Inside the store, fluorescent lights hum over exhausted employees, restocking shelves nobody actually wants to be in anymore. Somewhere near aisle 12, a teenager is debating whether generic cereal tastes different from the real brand. Jason can hear shopping carts rattling across the parking lot like distant machinery in a collapsing factory town. And for the first time in years, he has a thought he's almost ashamed to admit. What if compounding isn't enough? Because Jason did everything right. He invested every month, skipped vacations, bought used furniture, watched personal finance videos while eating microwave chicken bowls at midnight after work. He followed the formula, and somehow the formula still feels broken, which is uncomfortable, because modern financial culture treats compounding like a religious doctrine. Start early, invest consistently, wait patiently, and eventually, supposedly, the math saves you. But buried underneath those beautiful compound interest charts is a quieter truth almost nobody wants to say out loud. Compounding only becomes life-changing when one specific condition exists. Without it, compounding becomes financial theater, a mathematical screensaver people stare at while inflation quietly eats the future alive. The average American under 35 has less than $20,000 invested. Meanwhile, median home prices in parts of the United States crossed $400,000 years ago. Rent climbed faster than wages in most major cities. Healthcare costs became so absurd that people now describe basic medical procedures the same way medieval peasants described dragon attacks, with fear and paperwork. And yet social media continues telling people that investing $100 a month will eventually make them wealthy. Technically true. In the same way planting one tree technically helps climate change. The issue was never whether compounding works. The issue is scale. See, the mathematics of compounding are brutally misunderstood because people confuse time with magnitude. A 10% annual return sounds magical until you realize 10% on small numbers stays emotionally small for an uncomfortably long time. That's the psychological trap. The first decade barely feels real. If someone invests $200 a month starting at age 25 with historical stock market returns, they may have around $40,000 after 10 years. 10 years. That's longer than most marriages in Los Angeles. And after an entire decade of discipline, the result still isn't enough to buy a modest new car outright in many states, which creates a dangerous emotional problem modern finance influencers rarely discuss. Humans are not designed to emotionally process exponential growth. We are wired for immediate reward. Hunter-gatherer brains do not enjoy waiting until 2061, especially while inflation is turning grocery shopping into a low-budget psychological thriller. That's why so many people quit investing early. Not because they're stupid, because the early phase of compounding feels invisible. The graph looks flat. The sacrifice feels real. And culturally, everyone around them appears to be moving faster. Their friends buy luxury SUVs, take expensive vacations, upgrade kitchens they barely cook in. Meanwhile, the investor is celebrating a quarterly dividend payment large enough to purchase half a burrito bowl. This is where the real modern crisis begins. Because wealth in America stopped being purely financial a long time ago. It became performative. Economist Thorstein Veblen described this over a century ago with the concept of conspicuous consumption. People buy visible symbols of success because status itself became economic currency. Social media industrialized that instinct. Now people don't merely want wealth. They want visible evidence of wealth immediately. And compounding is almost offensively invisible in the beginning. Nobody sees your index fund. Nobody compliments your Roth IRA at dinner parties. There's no Instagram caption for maximized tax-advantaged contributions. So modern culture accidentally trains people to abandon the exact behaviors that create long-term stability, because the rewards arrive too late for the algorithm. And meanwhile, another uncomfortable truth emerges. Income matters more than people want to admit. This is the part financial culture often softens because it sounds unfair. But mathematically, somebody investing $5,000 a month experiences compounding very differently than someone investing $200. Not slightly differently, universally differently. For high earners, compounding feels fast enough to stay emotionally motivating. For everyone else, it can feel like trying to fill a swimming pool using a coffee mug during a drought. Again, the problem isn't compounding. The problem is insufficient surplus income inside an economy increasingly designed to eliminate surplus income. Americans now finance groceries with buy now pay later apps. That sentence alone should concern everyone. Student debt normalized decades of delayed adulthood. Housing costs transformed ordinary shelter into speculative assets. Entire industries emerged around monetizing loneliness, insecurity, convenience, and attention spans. People are exhausted before they even reach the investing stage, which explains why the average credit card debt in America continues climbing, while financial influencers calmly explain the importance of cutting back on lattes, as if caffeine was the dominant macroeconomic issue. But here's where things become psychologically fascinating, because despite all this, compounding still works, violently well, just not in the way most people imagine. The real power of compounding is not turning small money into giant money overnight. The real power is turning disciplined behavior into identity. That's the hidden mechanism. Jason eventually realizes this 2 years later. Not during some dramatic millionaire moment, but on a Tuesday morning while reviewing his finances before work. His investments finally crossed 6 figures. Not because of stock-picking brilliance. Not because of crypto luck. Not because he discovered a secret loophole billionaires hide in offshore islands next to fictional movie villains. He simply increased his income. Slowly, painfully, intentionally. He learned higher-paying skills, switched companies twice, negotiated salaries he previously felt too intimidated to request. And suddenly compounding accelerated. Because the monthly contribution changed. That was the missing piece. Most people obsess over investment returns while ignoring earning power. But historically, the largest driver of wealth accumulation for ordinary people was rarely investment genius. It was the ability to create larger consistent surplus cash flow. The investing came second. Warren Buffett himself made most of his wealth after age 50. Not because compounding suddenly activated like a video game cheat code. Because large capital compounded differently. And this creates the final uncomfortable truth. Compounding is not a rescue plan for financial dysfunction. It's an amplifier. If someone has low savings, unstable income, high debt, and consumption-driven habits, compounding amplifies very little. But if someone builds strong earning power, emotional discipline, patience, and consistent investing behavior, compounding becomes almost unfair. That's why the real financial divide in modern society may not be intelligence, or even work ethic. It may simply be who survives long enough psychologically to continue playing the long game. Because modern capitalism constantly pressures people into short-term thinking. Consume now, upgrade now, display now, borrow now. Patience became culturally unnatural. And yet patience remains one of the few advantages ordinary people still possess. By midnight, Jason finally turns off the car. The Walmart parking lot is nearly empty now. A janitor pushes carts beneath flickering lights while cold wind drifts across the asphalt. Jason checks his banking app one more time before driving home. The number still isn't enormous. But something changed. Because he finally understands the real point. Compounding was never magic. The real transformation happened long before the money multiplied. It happened the moment he stopped treating investing like a lottery ticket and started treating it like evidence of a stable future self. That was the actual return. Not just wealth, but distance from chaos. If this helped you see the situation more clearly, subscribe.